Okay, we're continuing on with the appendicular skeleton. All right, now we're going to be looking at the lower arm bones, the radius and the ulna. Okay, so the way to pick out these bones is the radius, if we look at the end, has a radiodial on it. See? Radiodial, radius. If we look at the ulna, we can see that it's monogrammed. See? It's got a U in it. U, ulna. Okay. Now, let's go back to our radius. All right, so up near that radiodial, you're going to see a little knot right here. Okay, this is called the radial tuberosity. So radial tuberosity is right up there near the radiodial. Okay, now if we move distally, we can see that we also have something called the styloid process. Okay, that's just this bottom little pokey thing right here. All right, so on our radius, we have radial tuberosity up by our radiodial, and then we have the styloid process at the distal end of the bone. All right, so another thing that you have to know about the radius is where does it actually sit in your arm? The radius is always on the thumb side. So radius is thumb side, ulna is going to be pinky side. So let's move to our ulna. The ulna at the distal end also has a styloid process, very similar to the radius. Now, if you look at your wrist, you can see those same styloid processes. Okay, so if I look at my wrist, there is my ulnar styloid process. See? Okay, so now let's go back to the ulna, and let's move to the proximal end. And we're going to identify our U. Okay, so the way I remember this is OTC, like over the counter. Okay, but here we have ocrine process, trochlear notch, coronoid process. Okay, so OTC. Remember, a process is anything that sticks out. So we have the ocrine process, trochlear notch, coronoid process. Okay, now those words should sound familiar because we just did something very similar to that on the humerus. Okay, so let's go over all these parts one more time, and then I'm going to show you how the humerus is going to play in. All right, so we have our ulna. The distal end, we see the styloid process going all the way up to the proximal end. We have the ocrine process, trochlear notch, coronoid process. All right, so now let me grab a humerus. And if we go back to our humerus, remember this little guy was called the coronoid fossa. And then if we flipped it over, we have oh my gosh, ocrine fossa. So guess what's going to happen? We're going to put the ocrine process in the ocrine fossa, and then the coronoid process is going to come around and sit in the coronoid fossa. And that's how we bend our elbow. So see, now they're making sense. And remember, your trochlear notch is rotating around the trochlea of the humerus.